Good morning and thank you, Commissioner. The Yuletide season carries with it many challenges, and what we have seen over the years is a gathering of families and friends to enjoy the festive seasons. As a result, there is an increased usage of our roadways. Friends coming from abroad, and so our roadways is heavily utilized. Also heavily utilized is the use of alcohol whilst we enjoy the festivities. What is the word from us? We want for everyone to have and enjoy the festive season, enjoy the drinking of your Pepsi, but we want for you to ensure that you do so with the highest level of consciousness, responsibility, and awareness. Alcohol impairs one vision, and so we want to just remind you, get yourself a designated driver whilst you do so. Just want to reassure the public that we will be out in our numbers. This device is not a cell phone. This is the SD5 instrument that is used by our officers right across Jamaica to treat with any driver who may seem to be under the influence of alcohol. And so this equipment is being used and will continue to be used for the Yuletide season, as this equipment will give a reading as to the level of alcohol within the system of that driver. If the person is found to be above a certain limit, then the individual will be taken to the police station where we have the Intoxilizer 8000 machine. The person will go through a certain processing and a printed document is generated from that machine for evidential purposes. So, this situation is not to scare anyone, but from the perspective of safety, especially with what is happening on our roadways, we want for you to be careful. This device, when used, it is a disposable equipment. It can be taken off, and it will be taken off once it is used. The process is just to install like this, and then the individual is required to blow into this area of the machine. This area now provides the reading, and it will indicate to the officer as to the level of alcohol in the system of the individual. If the level, in fact, let me tell you that it is, see the word, this is really blow. And this is where it now indicates to the person that it is time to do that. There's an allowable limit as it relates to alcohol within your system. 35 micrograms for every 1,000 milliliters of breath. If when you are checked, you are found to be above that, that is when the individual will be taken to the station where the Intoxilizer 8000 will be utilized. If the information generated from that machine shows that you are above the allowable limit, then the individual will be arrested. This having been used, it is taken off. The next motorist that comes by that needs to be checked, a new one is utilized. So a fresh one is utilized each time in that regard. So just to reiterate the point that it is not to scare anyone. We really want for you to have fun and enjoy the festivities with your families and friends. But we want for you to remain conscious as you utilize our roadways from the perspective of safety. Thank you, Commissioner. The other points I want to raise is the wearing of safety devices. And the three specific ones, or the three main ones, is your seatbelt, the protective helmet, and the child restraint system. We have prosecuted almost 400,000 breaches of the Road Traffic Act since the start of 2015. Almost 130,000 of that number is for excessive speeding. When you're speeding excessively and not wearing your seatbelt, in case of any eventualities, you all know what the consequences will be. From the perspective of the protective helmet, you have all seen that motorcyclists is the single most entity that has basically blown our statistics out of the park. In fact, we are seeing a 100% increase in the number of motorcyclists that has been killed on the roadways since the start of 2015. And the exact figure speaks to 101 to date. 99.5% of those were not wearing any protective helmet. And even though our records show the number of prosecutions that we have made for the non-wearing of protective devices, our motorcyclists continue in somewhat of an unabated way to provide these discouraging numbers. The focus parish continues to be Westmoreland, where right now at the Savannah Lamar police station, almost 380 motorcycles have been seized. And they are there, but ironically, tomorrow morning or the next day, you will find the person from whom that motorcycle was seized driving another motorcycle. We, from the police perspective, we know where the money is coming from, but I'm just highlighting that to you to show and to enunciate what is happening on our roadways. Moving violations, excessive speeding, improper overtaking, disobeying traffic signals, and drivers failing to keep left are critical factors which has resulted in many of our fatal collisions. When you are speeding excessively, the same impact that the vehicle have is the similar impact the internal organs is going to have. And you would have heard the road safety director, Kenwood, here delving into that part extensively. So we are warning our motoring public to stay within the prescribed speed limit. There are great benefits from doing so. When you stay within the limit, you are able to maneuver and to treat with almost any eventualities that may come your way. Improper overtaking is another factor that has caused some of the problems we have. And finally, I want to speak to the public transportation sector and its proper usage. Persons are leaving their homes not on time, and as a result, almost any vehicle stop at their feet, they jump in. So you're not only using illegal means of transportation, but you're putting your lives at risk. When you use one of those illegal operators, in the case of any eventuality, as we have seen from time to time, you don't have anything to claim to or anyone to claim from. Illegal taxis doesn't carry any insurance that will protect you in case of an accident. So we encourage you, leave for your various destinations on time, take legitimate transportation so that in case of any eventualities, you know exactly who you can go to treat with compensation or otherwise. My final word to you. We want every motorist to use our roadways with care. We want to keep them merry in Christmas. Do not, through your carelessness, cause for the merry to change to mourning for your friends and your families. Use the roadways with care, with responsibility, and with consciousness. Let us all walk, ride, drive, arrive alive, and stay alive.
While I won't reiterate the preamble, I just want to speak about a number of things. I want to encourage our citizenry this year at this period to remember. Don't leave valuable items on car seats, as they will provide an opportunity for persons to break into the car and steal these items. Trunk is a safer place. Travel around with credit and or debit cards rather than large amounts of cash on you. When persons during your course going to a business place, when there are persons in the business places, whether the banks or the stores, they will see persons, when they say persons tendering plenty cash, they will tell their friends on the outside, or they might just follow you. So it is advisable to use credit cards or debit cards and not plenty cash. Walk in groups rather than single. Avoid dark and unfamiliar areas. Both drivers, if your car is bumped into on the street, only stop if it is safe to do so. If it is not, try to get as much information on the car as possible and drive to the nearest police station or a safe place. It might just be a criminal who is trying to take you on. If you are leaving home for any long time, it is recommended that you speak to your neighbor and ask your neighbor to just give an eye on your premises. It's advisable that laptops in particular and other electronic devices are turned off while you store them in your vehicles. By the time be proven, there are some stories about laptops being left on and being tracked. So it is advisable that even though you are putting them in the trunk, you turn them off. If you are leaving, it is advisable, as I said, because well, Mr. Wattis might be able to back it up, or the technical persons. Well, at our office we don't have the evidence, but in the Mona area in particular, it is said, Mona and UA at the universities, it is said that many cars are broken into and the laptops are stolen, although they are in the trunks. So I'm advising us to ensure that they are turned off at all times, although they are in the trunk. Lastly, beware of stolen animals and agricultural produce, meaning that several persons will be offering you animals, carcasses, ensure that the livestock they're buying is bought from a reputable place. Purchase meat and produce from reputable sources, particularly the goats, but all livestock. Vegetable, ensure that the vegetable you buy are from persons who have gotten them legitimately. Finally, anyone with information on any criminal activity is being asked to call 119, 311 or 811 or their local police station. Thank you.
Organized crime. And particularly as it relates to the youth season and some of the issues that you should be aware of. The season is just around the corner. It's not just the enthusiastic consumer that awaits it. It will include persons seeking to manipulate the systems that allow you to enjoy the festive season. Among those are issues surrounding fraud, deceptive behaviors, and what we deem confidence tricksters. I will also indicate the fact that we will have an influx of our residents from the diaspora coming in, that we would like to assure them that we recognize that the coming in person is seek to prevent them, and that we have already deployed persons in prevention to ensure that the phenomena is not exploited, where they are trailed and robbed as in the past. We have specific persons dealing with that. I'll touch briefly on some of the cybercrime issue that may well come across as a part of the deceptive platform fraud that I spoke about. I'll provide a little guidance around human trafficking, certainly as it relates to the kids being home and some of the things that we have seen. And finally, I will address just a few issues around breach of the law reform provisions, better known as scam. Fraud, we have noticed, has been a growing tendency, particularly as it relates to the manipulation of credit cards and confidence tricksters manipulating the trust and embrace that the Jamaican people carry with their want. I want to advise the public to be trusting, but in the midst of being trusting, to be careful. But wary of persons who, during this period, is offering some products or services that is too good to be true. Don't let them tell you about their winning or having large portion of money and need access to your bank account for help. Don't allow yourself to be used as a go-through in terms of persons approaching and asking for you to open bank account to make available to them for use. Scammers, tricksters tend to prey on the young, unsuspecting, the aged, the elderly, and even some of us who are not aware. So be aware. Be aware. Again, this is a season that you'll have a lot of persons telling you about they have schemes for you to win prizes. Pay attention to the betting and gaming and lottery label and authorization to participate in those. Be careful of those things that may pop up on your screen. When we look at some of the pattern of conduct during 2015 and in previous year, these persons are very convincing in what they say, who they target, and how they sell the stories. They will make everything convenient for the victims. They volunteer to travel to your location to collect funds and property, check the authenticity of these persons and their story. They're generally persistent, overly friendly, claiming to be an employee of established companies with authority to offer large discounts, etc. Be wary of those persons. We have seen the frequency of reports in our shop obtaining money by false pretense, and those false pretense involve tricks and deceit. Fraudulent conversion, persons collecting on behalf of companies and it never reaches the intended recipients. And of course, we are seeing an uptick in terms of breaches of the Consumer Protection Act, where persons are placing order, delivering the payment, and persons are not coming forward to deliver the good. So our public need to be aware and be careful around those activities. We're also seeing, in particular, group crime, a scheming of individuals who will order large quantity of goods, making payments with checks, which is usually turns out to be fraudulent. And therefore, the businesses conducting business must ensure that their due diligence are consistent before allowing persons to access and take away your goods. Persons purporting to be official of telecommunication companies and requesting funds for prizes, that's frequent. Similarly, they manipulate these platforms, telling you that they have available credits or they need information, and in the blink of an eye, your credit is gone or you're defrauded of your position. And then there are unregulated overseas agencies, fraud, where persons present activities saying that they're offering employment, and in preparation for January you should pay the Christmas. Advise the persons to be careful. The public can protect themselves certainly at the merchants to verify payments by checks or credited to their accounts before parting with goods. Ensure that employees stick to companies' policies and procedures. Members of the public must verify with the Ministry of Labour about registration status of overseas agencies, etc. The public must desist from participating in transactions. The persons claiming to work with established business can offer the higher discounts. And moving on to the issue of cybercrime, cyber defamation, where persons using the internet to malign people's character. We're seeing an uptick in that, and during this season, we will know a difference. So guard against it, especially with the young children and their use of the internet. Cyberbullying is an issue that we're seeing, especially in the 12 to 16 age group. Issues that generally come about as a result of conflicts or grudges from schools. Sexting, which is really possessing and distributing nude photos of children. It's common among high school people. Parents need to be guarding against these during this period. Electronic fraud, online transaction and unauthorized access to personal information, and that would have been covered. And then the big issue that stems from that, which is identity theft. And those are facilitated with the use of the internet. And it involves all gender. You need to pay attention to that. Of course, websites that are unknown to you need to ensure that before you make that click, you satisfy yourself that you are familiar with where you're going or who you are communicating. Protect your password on your devices and make it long and strong. Use a mix of characters and letters to be safe, or use the more sophisticated methods. Ladies and gentlemen, human trafficking is on our radar. It is a global issue. It's an issue that involves trans-border interaction most occasion, and the Jamaican experience is suggesting that persons sometimes unsuspecting are tricked into promises of getting reward both here and abroad, and we want us to guard against that for this season. We also wanted to pay attention to the recruitment of your siblings and their families into prostitution through means of offering employment as massage, masseuse, and then you're converted into prostitute. Let's encourage our family members to stay away from these activities. And of course, finally, to address the issue of the breach of the law reform, and with the well-published issue of scamming, the targets have been in the past US, Canada, and some of our external countries. However, the phenomena sometimes affect our domestic space. Don't be willing to respond to claim of background knowledge of you and your friends and projected difficulties while abroad, and that you should send money to assist and you will get it back when I'm back in the island. That's a frequent trick that has been affecting a lot of us, and we need to pay attention to it. Lead list, email contacts and banking information, manage that. And finally, if you know any person that have the intention or involved in these activities, feel free to utilize the means available to you to communicate to the police. We will respond. Thank you very much.
Devon, can you just give an example of persons purporting to be your relative? How do you go about getting that information? Can you just give an example?
Well, we have seen where individuals utilize all the research means available, and we unwittingly provide a lot of open source information for persons to know everything about me. And so when they come and they present all the information about you and your relative, then they move into telling you why you should trust them to loan them money or to access your personal account, and things like those. You are convinced that in fact you are dealing with a friend. But it is a principle of trust which we all possess, and the research is suggesting that we are likely in 69% of the cases to trust a stranger simply by the way he's dressed or she's dressed, the way they look, or the way they speak, or the fact that they're able to present familiar information. So we are to be very careful about these persons.